Buenos días a todos. Hoy haremos nuestro 12ª y última entrevista, dando como cierre a esta serie de charlas con árbitros internacionales para conocer un poco más de la persona detrás del árbitro. Como sabemos, los protagonistas de cada torneo son los competidores, pero tenemos que recordar que para que estos eventos se puedan realizar, hay siempre un grupo de personas, entre jefes de mesa, árbitros, jueces y asistentes, que hacen posible la realización de dichos encuentros. Y para cerrar este ciclo de entrevistas, tendremos como invitado al maestro Henk Zonsveld, reconocido árbitro internacional de Países Bajos, quien será nuestro anfitrión en el próximo Campeonato del Mundo en julio de este año. El maestro Zonsveld comenzó a practicar taekwondo a la edad de 17 años en 1974. En 1985 obtuvo su graduación de primer dan. En 1982 obtuvo su credencial oficial como árbitro. Actualmente es presidente de la Federación Holandesa de Taekwondo y preside el Comité de Danes de la Federación Holandesa de Taekwondo. Maestro, háblenos un poquito de cómo fueron sus inicios en el arbitraje.
I started my career with refereeing in 1978. I've earned my first license for refereeing when I was a blue belt. At that time it was mandatory to get your license for refereeing before you could earn a black belt. I moved to another city and then I discovered that there were different styles of Taekwondo. I first did the WTF style and now I was with the school with the ITF. At first I did a lot of competition in sparring, breaking and tools. After my sporting career I started to coaching, also national and international. In 1992 I earned my first national license for refereeing. In Holland you have 4 licenses. Also you have to have a referee when you want to participate at school with a tournament. So it is mandatory. At that time I didn't like it that much, but over time, when I got more experience, I liked it very much. And also I got my international licenses.
¿Ha cambiado el arbitraje con el correr de los años? Y en tal caso, ¿qué es lo que usted considera como más significativo?
Yes, I think that arbitration has changed in the years, with small steps. And when you change the arbitration, also the game of Taekwondo will change, because competitors and coaches will analyze the changes in arbitration and try to make advantage of them. The latest time you see electronica used in the Taekwondo. You see a great scoreboard and the competitors and also the coach can see the scores. Now you see that when a competitor is in lead at the last half minute, they will avoid the fight. And that is something I think we have to change.
Maestro, ¿qué espera del arbitraje para el futuro? Hablando de cambios, mejoras, expectativas particulares.
I think that in the future refereeing will change. There will be more use of electronica. As you look at the WTF, you don't have referees scoring points anymore because all the electronica are on competitors. And maybe that is something we also can use in the ITF. But the most changes I think will be necessary in tools, because you have to referee tools on rhythm, on the good technique, on power and so on. Now one referee is doing all the refereeing and all the...
¿Alguna experiencia o anécdota en particular que quiera contarnos?
My first World Championship for the ITF I drove for 11 hours. When I arrived, the referee meeting started and was scheduled for 1 hour. It took more than 3 hours before it was finished. When I came back, all the restaurants were closed. The next morning we started early and it was scheduled to stop at 5 in the afternoon. But it stopped at 11 at night. And at that moment we didn't eat. So it was very tiring. The next days it was a little bit better, but still late in the night. Nowadays the World Championships are better organized with enough referees and enough rest for the referees. But I remember always that time that it was very tiring, but a very learning experience.
Según su criterio, maestro, ¿cómo se hace un buen árbitro?
To become a good referee, I think it is important that you done all the facets around competition. So it is good when you start as a competitor and see at that side what is all happening. Then also as coach you see the other side. And as referee you see the third side. But you need each other. And that is very important. Sometimes it looks like if the competitors, the coaches and the other side, the referees, are two different worlds. But they need each other because without referees there is no competition and without competitors there are no world championships. So we have to respect each other and be happy that we have each other.
Después de tantos años, maestro, ¿qué ha dejado el arbitraje en su vida como taekwondista?
Refereeing has brought me a lot of friends and I liked it very much. But I also know that refereeing in Taekwondo is only a part of Taekwondo. When you want to become a complete martial artist in Taekwondo, you have to do a lot of more facets in Taekwondo than only refereeing. But I like it very much and it is also good to be humble and to give back something for Taekwondo.
Después de 2 años de pandemia mundial, ¿qué espera para el 2022, sobre todo siendo su país anfitrión del próximo campeonato mundial?
I hope in 2022 that we have a lot of competitions in Taekwondo and that there are no lockdowns anymore. It was a terrible time in lockdowns because the schools were closed and also there were no competition, but hopefully now we can go back to our normal life.
Maestro, un mensaje para todo aquel taekwondista que quisiera comenzar a transitar el camino del arbitraje.
I think it is also important when you start refereeing that you start at the table, keeping the time and keeping the scores. Then you go to the corner and so on, because then you get confidence and you get experience at all the facets in it refereeing.
Maestro Zonsveld, quiero agradecerle su amabilidad y predisposición para realizar esta entrevista, esperando verlo pronto en el próximo campeonato del mundo en poco tiempo. Le mando un afectuoso saludo y lo invito a despedirse de nuestro público con algunas palabras. Taekwondo.
First, my excuses for my English, that is not my native language. I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in this interview. And for all my referee colleagues, I hope to see you at the World Championships in Holland. Taekwondo.